The last person who played this Legend ZA save file did something insane. They played for 900 hours, had $9 million, and used Pokemon that are literally impossible to catch. And that's not even the crazy part. We're gonna look at one save file from each series of the Switch game. Some of these actually impressed me, but others have completely scarred me for life. We will get to that, but first I gotta show you the wild stuff in ZA. Now, looking at a save file like this is rare because the last person who played it finished it like a month ago. I usually buy old games to see what's left on them, but Nintendo stopped making saves work like this after the 3DS. So if you want to look at Switch saves, you usually have to do a little bit of tinkering. Most of today's saves I found after surfing the web for people innocently uploading their saves online. But the last two saves I found on a real authentic Switch. So it's going to be fun to see the difference between all of these. Because Aroeta here on Legend ZA was definitely trying to flex. But the way they got all these hacked Pokemon is something I have never seen before. I mean, just looking at their team is already going over the top. Shinies, event legendaries, alphas, megas, and some all of the above, which yes, is physically impossible, so this Diancie is just the same size as a normal one. Out of their whole team, there is only one Pokemon that's not marked as hacked, which is this Lucario. And there's actually a really strange reason for this, so remember this guy for just a minute. I looked at their boxes and oh yeah, baby, when we saw that party, what else did you expect in here? Stacks on stacks of more outrageous Pokemon. I think Game Freak would try to light your Switch on fire if you connected to the internet with some of these guys. Now we could just oogle at all the crazy stuff in here that was obviously cheated and move on to the next save. But if you've seen my videos before, you'll know I like to look a little deeper to see if there's a story of what really happened. And I actually think we're onto something sinister here. So first off, yes, a large amount of these Pokemon are not legit. Level 10 Alpha Xerneas with Tackle, not getting good vibes from this one. But not everything in here is fake. Take this Roserade for example. Not shiny, not alpha. Says it was caught as a Budew in a friend ball at level 5. Completely normal. Yet, it's still marked as hacked. But the problem is not that it was cheated into the game. It's actually a problem with the trainer themselves. See, because of the party and the first few boxes, I assumed this was a Chinese save file. But only about half of the Pokemon in here are foreign, with the other ones being English, including the Lucario in the party. And all of the ones that are Chinese are marked as hacked. Now, being from another country doesn't automatically mark a Pokemon as being cheated. That would be a little problematic. These are actually marked as fake because of how they got into the save file. Whoever catches a Pokemon is saved as the original trainer, their OT. And if you trade that Pokemon to someone else, it'll keep the same OT. But in newer games, there's also a handler, which is just the person who currently owns a Pokemon. If these two names are different, that means a Pokemon was traded away from its original owner and someone new has it now. And the OT on these Chinese Pokemon is a player named XS. Since that's not our friend Aroeta here, you'd think XS traded these Pokemon over and we would expect her name to be the new handler. But the handler is blank. That means there's no record of them ever being traded, and the game thinks XS is still in possession of these Pokemon. And since that's not the case, it sets off alarm bells and marks them as hacked. But how the hell does that happen? If you trade a Pokemon, the handler will automatically update. Well, it's because these Pokemon were not traded. The player was. All of the Chinese Pokemon were caught in October of 2025, and all of the English Pokemon were caught in March of 2026. Though it's not because our Chinese friend beat the game in 1 week, then picked it back up 6 months later after moving to America. It's because at least 2 different people were playing on this save file. When XS stopped playing, Aroeta downloaded their save and continued from where they left off. But Aroeta decided to change the name of the trainer through an editor. And since the new player name doesn't match the OT of all the Pokemon left on here, the game can't tell what happened and marks all of them as hacked. Aroeta taking over this save like a computer virus and walking around in another player's skin is a story enough. But there's one more scuff in the data here that could throw a wrench into this theory. The reason I said at least 2 different people played it is because Aroeta and XS are not the only people who caught stuff on here. There's a group of Pokemon caught by one other name, Sarah. And these Pokemon have the same problem as the Chinese ones. They're marked as hacked since they aren't caught by Aroeta, but have no handler data because they weren't actually traded here. So was this save played played by 3 different people, started by XS, taken over by Sarah, then again by Aroida? That could be the case, but I actually think the real answer is a lot simpler. There's a 6-month gap between XS and Aroida playing this save, but Sarah's Pokemon were caught only a few days before Aroida started, so I think XS started this game, then played for a while before putting it down. Afterwards, Sarah downloaded the save and continued their progress. At some point, she decided this save was so cool they wanted to upload it for the world to see, but she didn't want to use her real name when putting it online, so she changed the tag again to match their username, Aroida. Her post where you can download the save doesn't mention any of this, so it might seem like a crazy conspiracy theory I whipped up for content, but there is a final reason I know this is all true. On the day the save was uploaded, there was one edit to the post to change something. All the information is the exact same as the original, except for one line that they removed from the public version. The save download was from a different site that had a Chinese save. It's expanded to be more complete. So at the last moment, she decided to redact this info and try and pass along the save as her own. Well, I do think it's a little odd they tried to cover this part up. I'm not throwing any shade at Aroida here. I mean, I myself have made videos of playing people's save files that don't finish the game and try to carry on their legacy. If you are out there watching, Sarah, Arceus bless you. Someone who is not getting the blessing of Arceus though is Chase on Let's Go Pikachu, because they did one of the worst things I have ever seen on a used save file. At first, this looked like nothing more than your average Pokemon playthrough. Get all 8 badges, beat the champion, maybe catch some legendaries, and call it a day. Like if your playtime is in the 20 to 30 hours range, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say you're not much of a post-game fan. And there's nothing wrong with that. We've seen plenty of saves on this channel quit forever much earlier than right here. But despite this save looking pretty average, Chase somehow did one of the most shameful things I have ever shown in a video. And I'm gonna tell you guys all about what Chase did in just a moment, but first I gotta tell you all about something. So looking at used save files of Pokemon games is really fun if you're able to find used copies. So I wanna tell you guys about an app you can actually use to find these games. It's our sponsor today, Whatnot. Whatnot is the #1 live stream shopping app. I am always on the hunt for ways to expand my collection for these videos, and surprisingly, Whatnot is a really good way to do that. So once you have the app installed, all you have to do is swipe through and find a category for stuff you're looking for. Currently, I'm on the hunt for some OG Nintendo consoles because I got rid of all of mine as a kid. There's a category all about consoles, and it looks like this guy has a bunch of retro stuff, so I'm gonna check this out. All right, what do we got here? Need for Speed Underground, bro. That is a throwback. All right. It looks good. I think I'm gonna cop that, bro. And there we go. It felt good to actually support a smaller gaming business there. There's plenty of other categories too, like trading cards and anime and manga. And it's more than just auctions. There are flash sales and even buy now options. So if you want to get in on the action, all you have to do is use my link in the description or the QR code right here for $15 off your first purchase anywhere on the app. You're probably gonna see some Pokemon games from Whatnot in a future video. Okay, let's go back to talking about this insane Let's Go Pikachu save file. They had a pretty decent squad with them, including an Alolan Ninetales they transferred from Pokemon Go, which I honestly forgot was even a thing you can do, but I mean, that's literally the whole point of this game, so I guess that makes sense. Things started getting a little strange when I looked at the box though. The only Pokemon in here were all static encounters you find in Kanto. Now for me, it's pretty weird to not get literally any wild Pokemon, especially in this game where they tried really hard to make the new catching mechanic more enticing. But hey, maybe Chase really wasn't a fan of waving your Joy-Con around to try to catch Caterpie. Since their box was low key, I didn't expect to find much in their bag, but instead I found literally every single item in the game maxed out. I mean, I can understand Master Balls and Nuggets, but the parcel that you take to Professor Oak in the first hour of the game, did we really need that back? But even still, this is far from the first save we found that's had items hacked in, so Chase wasn't weirding me out too much yet. Since we can confirm he hacked this save and opened Pandora's box, I decided to go back and look at their Pokemon in a save editor, just to see if there was any more shenanigans. And oh boy, was there shenanigans. EK Hex lit up like a Christmas tree seeing these guys, but I couldn't figure out why, because everything looks normal. They have the correct moves, they have real encounter data, they're not even level 100. Well, after heavy research, I discovered there's 2 major sins Chase committed with these Pokemon. And for it to make sense, we gotta understand how Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee work first. Normally, your Pokemon have EVs and IVs. To keep it very basic, these determine the stats of a Pokemon. Their IVs are assigned randomly at birth, but they can get more EVs by killing other Pokemon. The Let's Go games are quirky though, and replaced EVs with AVs. The biggest difference is AVs automatically increase as you level up. So a fresh, higher level Pokemon will always have more AVs than a lower one. Whereas EVs and IVs, you could catch a brand new level 100 with the worst luck of all time and have a 0 in all of them. So since the level of Chase's team is all in the 70s, you would think their AVs would be pretty high up there, but all of them are almost at 0. And they're marked as hacked because their stats are so low, it should be physically impossible. They're so ass, Nintendo is suspicious. So what the hell happened here? Did Chase manually make his Pokemon suck for like a challenge? Did his hacked rare candies not work correctly so their AVs didn't go up like they're supposed to? No, dear viewer, it's even worse than that. I decided to test the rare candies theory, taking a brand new level 1 Pokemon to level 70, and their AVs went up just fine. But during this test, I did find the problem. For some reason in this game, you cannot give your Pokemon more than one rare candy at a time. So if you want to make something max level, you have to watch this animation play out 100 times. So I think that Chase, even though he had max nuggets, master balls, and rare candies, got so lazy that instead of using all his items to make his Pokemon overpowered, he just went into the save editor and and his AVs never got updated. What the fuck, brother? At that point, why are you even playing? It is bad enough that hacking his team accidentally made them worse, but there's still one more sin that happened to these Pokemon. And I think somehow this one is even more evil. Now the legendaries in his box actually have correct stats, so I thought he just caught these normally. But for the life of me, I could not find what made them hacked. Their met location, moves, and levels are all correct. So after some digging, I decided I was gonna change my line of thinking. If these Pokemon were hacked in and not caught, where's the real ones then? Like if you were playing Kanto and had a hacked Zapdos, shouldn't you have 2 Zapdoses? Because you can actually get the legendary birds in this very game. Well, the save editor PK Hex has this nifty feature where you can see what gameplay events the player accomplished in the save. Think of it like Xbox achievements. And I could see that Chase did not get the event for catching Zapdos. That doesn't make any sense. Where did this one come from then? The OT says Chase, so it isn't traded. And since it's marked as hacked, it couldn't have come from home. I dug through more events and found that Chase didn't even get the event for going to the power plant, which is where you find Zapdos. Surely that cannot be the case. If he has a Zapdos in the box, there's no way when I go to the power plant, I'll find, oh my fucking God. No way. So this means that Chase was so lazy that instead of catching all these Pokemon that can be found in the same game he was playing, he just hacked them in and tried to make it look like he did it legit. There is no reason to do this. There's no ranked battling in this game, and you can't move them to home to get them out of here. He did not even use them. He just left them in the box. So who is this for? The 5 other psychos like me that downloaded this to try to trick us into thinking you played this when you really didn't? My head hurts. We need a change of pace to someone who actually played the game and enjoyed it. So here's Cuker on Legends Arceus. I was super excited to dive into this save because even though I haven't played much of the Switch games, I think Legends Arceus is fantastic. It's a love letter to a Gen 4 fanboy like me. But this is no video essay, this is checking out a banger save file. I could tell Cuker had a great time with this because they completed almost everything. They finished all the legendary Pokemon quests, including Darkrai and Shaman, who you can only find if you have some Gen 8 saves on your Switch. The rest of their boxes were also full of cool Pokemon like some random alphas and mass outbreak shinies. There's so many duplicates in here, but that's one of the most fun parts of this game, running into an area and slanging Pokeballs all over the place. They're also loaded up on so many items and outfits, so I wonder why out of all the clothes they had, this is the drip they chose? Questionable at best. They even completed every single side quest in the game, including the Path of Solitude stuff from the free Daybreak DLC update. And we can see here that the Pokedex even marks the Pokemon they beat this challenge with for the quest. So they grinded these out completely legit. Out of all the things they accomplished here, it feels bad to focus on what they didn't do, but there's one pretty massive item they missed out on, and it's pretty clear why. After looking at the other saves on this list, I was on high alert for some funny business, and honestly couldn't find much. The closest I got was seeing this group of 3 Fiones and a Manaphy here. I'm so used to these guys being the biggest pain in the ass to get in the other games. I completely forgot there's a normal mission to go find these 4. The requirements are weird. You have to have a weasel, a mantike, and an overquill in your party, but all 3 of these are chilling right next to the Manaphy in the box. So they were definitely doing this all for real. I was honestly getting to a point I could just happily call this a squeaky clean save file and move on to the next games. But there was one thing bugging me here, their party. I mean, this is a completely normal set of Pokemon for this game. A couple shinies is definitely eyebrow raising, but all of their data seems completely fine. So they look real to me. The part that is not real, however, are their stats. On all 6 of them, getting to level 100 is piss easy here. You get gift bombs, so many rare candies in this game, so I'm not worried about that. It's the stats you actually can't see in the game and only exist in a save editor. Their EVs and IVs are completely maxed out. Now, in new gen Pokemon games, it's easier than ever to change these. You can give level 100 Pokemon bottle caps to raise their IVs, and there are tons of activities to rearrange your EVs. However, none of these methods exist in Legends Arceus. So the only way this would be possible is if these were all transferred to home, then to another game like Scarlet Violet, trained there, then sent all the way back. It's not the most wild scenario to think of, but I know this is not the case. If your Pokemon ever gets sent to home, they get assigned a little tracking number, kind of like a stamp in a passport for leaving their region. And these guys are all completely blank in that department, meaning they have never left Hisui. So Kyuker was feeling a little insecure about their team's stats and just decided to pump those numbers up manually. This isn't the worst crime I've ever seen, but it's insanely funny because it shows that Kyuker did not know ball. Legends Arceus is another quirky game that doesn't use IVs and EVs pretty much at all, and instead you boost your stats with a new mechanic, grit values. And these are absurdly easy to acquire because you just give your Pokemon these salt rocks, pick what stat it goes towards until you hit level 10, and boom, you've just created a demon. And Kyuker has so many of these grit rocks in their bag, but did not use any of them. So they hacked the wrong stats of their Pokemon, meaning they're the exact same strength as anyone else's team. They cheated on the test, but got the same grade as everyone else. But why would they do this? Kyuker finished every quest and damn near 100% of the game. Why would you hack your stats? Well, I think they just wanted a little extra insurance because the last thing they were doing before they uploaded this save was trying to retrieve the final Arceus plate. And to do that, you have to defeat Volo, a guy with 8 Pokemon on his team, 2 of which are Giratina. This battle has become legendary and is notorious for being one of the hardest in the entire series. So Kyuker maybe felt a little scared before going one-on-one with the devil. And you know what? That's fair. I think Kyuker would be friends with the person who played our next save on Brilliant Diamond though. Both of them trying their best to max out a Sinnoh game. The last time I looked at a French save file, I was very disappointed, but Yona is stepping up their game here. They completed a full living regional dex. Every Pokemon you can catch in BDSP is lined up all nice and neat in their boxes, including all the special legendaries you get from Ramanas Park in the post game. They even bred a bunch of Rotoms to have the different appliances for good measure. Checking their trainer card shows they got 3 stars. The conditions for getting these are a little different than the original games. Yona got these by defeating Cynthia, getting 100 statues in the Grand Underground, and completing a master rank contest. The 2 stars he was missing was for completing the full national dex and getting a 100 win streak in the battle tower. Looks like he got closer to 100 than Scott did in my last video, but still a long ways off. And once again, I have so much sympathy. That shit is not fun. Unfortunately, the Gen 4 remakes here don't have a lot of the cool features for save file exploration that the originals do, like putting furniture in your secret base or looking at pictures of old contest entries. So we can't see everything this player was up to, but I was at least happy to see that for once we had a squeaky clean save file and Yona did everything here legit. Okay, hold on a second. They maxed out every item. Oh, they beat Cynthia with a team of shiny evolutions. They hacked in 99 of every statue? What do you even do with that? What is wrong with you people? Okay, look, I'm not pleased that all of these have been tampered with today. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of getting saves from the internet instead of out in the wild. But I can promise you that the final 2 saves are completely and 100% clean because I got them on a real Nintendo Switch. just to be sure, I checked this baby wasn't hacked. So whatever this person did with these games was the way Arceus meant it to be. We're gonna start with their copy of Scarlet because I think it's obvious they preferred Shield way more. Without further ado, let's check out Big Dog. What a name. It looks like they got this for Christmas after the games dropped and played it for a modest 18 hours before putting it down. Gen 9 is interesting because they split the gym challenge from the main story of the game. So seeing how many gyms they beat doesn't really give you a full picture of their progress. But it looks like she got a hodgepodge of random badges from the bottom of the map, with the last one being the water type gym. This is probably where her disinterest for the game started. Even though Cascarafa is pretty close to the starting zone, the wild Pokemon there are way higher level than you would expect. If you're trying to do all the bosses in order of easiest to hardest, you would hit this gym a little further into the game when your Pokemon are more experienced. But a casual player would have no way of knowing this because the game doesn't really let you know how strong an area is. I think this is probably the biggest critique against Scarlet and Violet. The game is open world and lets you go anywhere, but all the wild Pokemon have set levels. So if you walk into a level 50 zone with your unevolved starter, I don't think you're going to be sticking around too long. It even looks like she tried to recenter herself by going back to the very beginning of the game, but she just never got back to finishing it out. It's always a bummer to find a half-finished save like this, but the nicknames of her Pokemon are carrying this. Mousepad the Pawmot, Harley the Cyclizar, Tiny Tina. Is that a Borderlands reference, baby? Oh, so you're telling me you're not fucking with Goob, the Gimme Ghoul. It's gonna sound weird, but I think the nicknames prove she really was a Pokemon fan, but just didn't jive with Gen 9. Because her Galar save is way more wholesome. She completed the game, fully evolved her team, was breaded up, and of course, had more fantastic nicknames. Big Bess, the Rillaboom, Carol, the Dracovish, Deathbringer, the Ponyta. I paid her. I tried to look at their trainer code, but of course this doesn't have Nintendo Online. She might not have even known about Pokemon Home and that she could have transferred all her friends there. Big Dog started this game in late 2019, but there is a couple month gap between when she played it more and finished it in mid 2020. Damn, I wonder what was going on at the time that gave people more time to play video games. The place she put the game down for good is kind of sad though. Right after finishing the game, you go return Zacian and Zamazenta's items to their shrine. But then the two goofiest motherfuckers in Pokemon history stop you for a battle. And then this is the start of the post game. But looking at Big Dog's team, they were already pretty beat up here because to get here, you have to fight Hop. So it seems like she assumed it was over, didn't heal, and then got her ass kicked by this dickhead. And that was enough to flush Galar forever. It's really weird to look at a game like this and feel nostalgic. Sword and Shield is the era I started pumping out videos more on this channel, trying to be a real YouTuber. I remember one of them getting 2,000 views and I felt like a fucking celebrity. Good times. And now we've got the Switch 2 and Gen 10 is on the horizon. Hell, it's already been 5 years since the remakes of Gen 4 came out. I don't know what happened to make Big Dog be done with this thing forever. It's super dusty and I actually had to swap out the Joy-Cons on it because the original ones had so much drift. But I hope that she and all the other folks we checked in on today are doing well, wherever they are on their Pokemon journey. Except for Chase. What the fuck was that, man?